And as you're seated, let's go ahead and turn to God for a word of prayer. God, we are thankful to you for this day you have given us. Right now, we just come before you. We lay our lives before you. We lay everything that we are before you into your presence. And we pray that you would stir in our hearts, that you would speak into our lives. Help us to love you. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Well, it's July. You know, it's that time of the year, you know what happens. Everybody kind of goes on vacation, right? And so I thought, Tony is sometimes crazy enough to give me 4 weeks in a row to preach. And so I have the whole month of July. And I thought, what can we talk about that everybody's doing? And it's vacation. Everybody's going on vacation, it seems like. And if you're not part of the everybody going on vacation, I'm sorry, but maybe your vacation will come up. Recently, the Kurtz family went on vacation. We went in June. We went camping. We had a week off, and so we decided to go for an overnight to go camping. And it was quite an adventure. We decided to take the little guy with us. He's 7 months now, so that's always fun to go tent camping. Tent camping was something I did when I was younger, and I learned my lesson from, and hadn't really done that much in recent years. But I thought we thought we'd give it a try. So we went to the store, and you know, if you're going to go tent camping, you have to buy a ton of stuff. It's just a given. So we went and we got a tent, reasonable for our size of family. We have 3 people, so we got a tent that sleeps 9 to 10 people. It's what you do, right? We got our queen-size, double-high air mattress, because it's what you do when you go tent camping. And with the pump, it inflates the mattress, but it also vacuumed all the dirt off the floor, because you can't get any dirt in your tent. You know, if you're in nature, it's not going to work. So we went grocery shopping. We got all that food stuff you get. You know, you overpack on food. We got all this stuff to cook it with, because if you're going to go camping, you need a mobile kitchen. We had quite the amount of stuff. So the Kurtz family, we piled into Allison's car. We got going. We were going to go to my granddad's place, an old place in Corridon. But then we realized if you go down this driveway, it actually has literal boulders coming out of the ground for this driveway. And her little hybrid does not have much clearance. So we thought, well, we probably shouldn't bottom out the car. You know, nothing was going to stand in the way from us getting away from it all. So we thought, you know, we'll go to the state park. They have a campground. So we go on the way, and as we're leaving, the little guy, he decides to start chatting a little bit in the back of the car, as you know, little guys do. And it gets a little louder, and a little more louder, and he's just singing at the top of his lungs in the back of the car. And we thought, I didn't know if we were going to make it. It's a 30-minute drive just to the state park, but you know, you have a screaming kid in the back. But I was telling Allison, you know, there's O'Charlie's back behind us. You get free rolls. We can go camp in our yard maybe at some point. We went. We made it over to what was Wyandotte State Forest. I think it's O'Bannon State Forest now. Of course, you know, we got there, and there's like 6 cars deep, so I got, you know, kids still crying, so I get the bottle, fed him, and we're good. You know, we get there, we pick out the perfect spot. You know, you try to get as much away from everybody as you can at a campground. And so we set all our stuff up, and you know, tent and everything, all the junk for cooking, our mobile master bedroom in the tent. It was all set up. And of course, you know what happens every time you go tent camping. What's the rule that happens when you go tent camping? It rains. It rained. So we got all this stuff. We threw it in our mobile fortress, and we were good, and stopped raining. And we had a nice time. It was so relaxing just to spend time together, sitting watching the fire die down. You wake up in the morning. It's still kind of sticky, but you know, you make breakfast. I loved breakfast. That was my favorite part of this trip. We'd gotten powdered sugar donuts and bacon, among other things, to cook for breakfast. And so what do you do when you go camping? You combine the best of both worlds. So I, over the campfire, had bacon with my powdered sugar donut, kind of is wrapped in bacon. That's awesome. I highly suggest it. So I ate a couple of those, actually. I ate a couple of my bacon donuts, and we packed up our stuff, went to the hospital to restart my heart after all that, and it was a great vacation. It's just, there is something about getting away from it all. My time with Allison was different. You know, even I had some time of prayer. and it felt different. There's just something about getting away from everything. It just changes the rhythm, right? We like to get away from it all. We try to get away from all the stress, all the worries, all the burdens and cares. I was looking, though, on the internet for some vacations that if you didn't want to get from stress and burdens, I thought, what are some of the worst vacation spots? I have a couple to show you. First is in Wyoming, Buford. Population of 1. It had 2, I guess, but they had a falling out, so it's now 1. I guess isolation. If you want a smelly trip, the sewers of Paris would be your choice. For $3, you can walk 500 yards of open sewage in Paris. So I guess that would be fun for somebody, but I don't. So you can do this though. You can walk 500 yards of Paris sewage. This next one is in Azerbaijan. It's volcanic mud stuff. I guess that would be maybe a spa getaway. 20 meters of fire shoots in the air with mud going everywhere. Pleasant trip. But if you want a little more of a tropical getaway, you can go to the ocean, and in the Pacific Ocean, I didn't know this, there's apparently a roving island of trash, like bottles and other stuff, and it's the size of, do you think it's pretty large? It's the size of Texas. This island of trash. And you could be a part of this. You could maybe walk on it, little floaties, makeshift floaties maybe. Or if you want to get to more of a nice island retreat, you can go to this place that has the largest concentration of snakes in the world. It's in Brazil. Let me look at this. I always forget the name. It's kind of hard to say. It's the Ilha de Quimita Grande in Brazil. It has, I think, every square meter has 1 to 5 of these really poisonous snakes. They wanted to build a plantation here, and I think all the snakes killed the scouts. So you might take some special extended family trips there and send them ahead of you. Or if you want to go a little more highbrow, you can go to England. Alnwick Poison Garden in England. Everything in this garden, if you ate it, would kill you. It is a whole garden filled with poisonous plants. Sounds kind of interesting. But yeah, these are some spots you might go that they might not take the stress away like some other trips would. Yeah, we like to take trips. We like to get away from it all. And a lot of times it is because we're so stressed out. I mean, we're maxed out. I talk to people who are retired, and they are maxed out. They have no room on their schedule. They're retired. Yeah, we are stressed to the max. I was reading a psychiatrist had written a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Zebras don't get ulcers. See, zebras, they get stressed in certain specific circumstances. You know, if they're in the wild and there's a lion coming for them, that tends to stress out their day. And so they get stressed, and there's actually a physical thing where when you get stressed, your blood goes into different parts of your body so that you can run and get away. You're more alert and aware, and you can get out of there really quick. And that's important when the lion's chasing you, right? You want to hightail it out of there. The problem is that we live with chronic stress. We live as if a lion is chasing us every day, day in, day out. We live with a sense of chronic worry and burden. You know, we look at our families and we worry. We look at our taxes, our pay. We look at friends and family. We worry about all sorts of stuff. And we put all sorts of burdens on ourselves. And we live as if, and our bodies reacting as if we need to be ready for anything at any moment. We're stressed out. And the thing is, this book talks about how it's literally killing us. You know, there's a rise of, we get ulcers. I mean, that's not a naturally occurring thing. There's a rise of cancer. Many researchers have linked to stress. We live chronically stressed out. We get more colds. We get sick more often. You know, they actually study where the blood flow goes. When you're stressed out and you're having to run from a lion, you don't need to be creative, really. You just need to get out of there. And so we are literally making ourselves stupid with stress. We are less creative, we are less productive when we are living in chronic stress. And that's where most of us are at. And so it's no surprise at all that we kind of talk about vacation as this like awesome thing to get away from it all. We just need to escape all this stress. It's burdening us. And for some of us, it's literally making our lives shorter because we're so stressed out. So I wanted to talk about, for 4 weeks, we're going to talk about vacation time. This week we're going to talk about stopping, this element of getting away from it all. Next week we're going to talk about resting, what it means to live in a different pace and rhythm at island time. Third week we're going to talk about embracing the moment, the people around us. And for our last week, we're actually going to be talking about feasting. There's something about that last meal, when you're on a vacation, there's something enjoyable about it. Meals are different on vacation. And so we'll talk about that, and we'll do communion for our last week. But when I talk about vacation time, the Bible talks about this a lot. They use a different term, though. We talk about it as Sabbath. Sabbath time is actually setting aside time to get away from it all. I think for our modern ears, vacation time it's a good kind of analogy for looking at this idea of Sabbath, of getting away from it all. Sabbath has actually lost its place in our culture in a lot of ways. Used to, it was a big thing. It was legally enforced all over, right? Businesses had to close. You had to close if for Sabbath. And that's just something that we do less of. Chick-fil-A still does that, which is commendable for them because they lose a lot of money. They lose a lot of my money because I would go there after church today if Chick-fil-A was open. But they stay closed. But for many businesses, it's a big sacrifice. I remember when I was a little kid, actually, and they were talking about Sabbath. I remember in school, we were watching this early period kind of film, and I just remember this one scene. It always stuck out. There was a silversmith. The silversmith, he had to do a project. He had to get it done so that he can finish his apprenticeship, and time was running up, and it was the Sabbath. And the poor guy couldn't work because it was the Sabbath. And I was just remember as a kid thinking, well, what's the big deal? Let the guy work. He needs to get his stuff done. Why do they do this to him? Sabbath in that way doesn't have very positive ideas. But for even those who support Sabbath for businesses, day off, I think even in the church, all of us struggle with Sabbath for ourselves. There's something hard of stop, it's hard for us to stop. And not only is it hard for us to stop, we actually brag about how much we don't stop. We like to impress other people as saying, how have you been doing in life? I've been busy. Oh, you can't believe how busy I've been. I have been crazy busy. I mean, it's almost like you're kind of shining off your little badge of honor of just how busy you are. We like to, brag about, I'm getting up earlier and earlier and going to bed later and later. We promote this. We do this in the church, and this is something that's hard for culture. I mean, in America, we promote work and workaholism as a virtue. But this is something I think that the Bible and this biblical ethic of Sabbath really has to say something different for us. So you find in Exodus 20, it's our scripture for today, reasons for why should we observe the Sabbath. Why would you want to observe the Sabbath? Well, in Exodus 20, 8 through 11, it says that remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God, and you shall not do any work, you, your sons or your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the alien resident in your town. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and consecrated it. I have a little modified version of this that I thought we could read together. Remember the vacation and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a vacation to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the alien residents in your town. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, but rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the vacation and consecrated it. It has a different rhythm, doesn't it? We're meant to stop. So why do the Sabbath? Why take Sabbath time? Well, a couple of reasons. One, God commands this. This is set in the Ten Commandments. So you know the whole thing, like, don't steal from people? It's not a nice thing to do. Don't murder people. They don't tend to like it. Taking a day off is on the same level as don't murder, don't steal. Take a day off. Take a vacation. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to God. So why take the Sabbath? Well, for one, if it's important to you what God thinks or what God commands you to do it. God tells you to do this. Set aside time. So we are called to, and I like this, that we are to remember the vacation, we are to remember the Sabbath day, and to keep it holy. So remembering it means setting aside the time, remembering to do it, but to keep it holy. You know, we talk about holiness in the church a lot. Holiness, one aspect of it is set apart. So really what it's saying is this day is set apart. It's special. Do you have things that you set apart and you respect so much that you don't really disrupt them? That's what this time should be for you. You should have a regular rhythm of time, something that you respect it so much, it's so meaningful to you that you don't interrupt it. So we're commanded to do this. 2, it benefits everyone. Do you notice 9 through 10, it says that you have 6 days to labor and do all your work, but the 7th day you should take off. You, your son or daughter, your male and female slaves. We don't promote slavery, but if you're a business owner, the people who work under you, your livestock, the alien resident in your town. So this would be people who don't even have legal status. So you illegal immigrants, when they go to work, everyone, no matter even if you don't have a legal foot to stand on, everyone should get this Sabbath time. This is a justice issue. This is something that should be open to everyone, period. And if you think about it, it makes sense. I talked to my sister. She's been living in China. They don't have a weekend. Think about that. If you worked 7 days a week, some of you might do this too, but if you work 7 days a week, you work 10-hour days, what did that look like? What would you look like? I mean, at that point, you're a cog in the machine. You're not even a person anymore, really. You come home every day, and I imagine just being wrung out. You don't have any time off. You're just a cog in the machine. You're no longer a human being. You're an instrument to do stuff. We're called to be so much more than just cogs in the machine. And this is meant for everyone. This is a justice issue meant for everyone. That we should get time off. This is a big deal. So we're commanded to do this. It benefits everyone. We're also designed to do this. We're designed to stop. On that 11th verse, where it talks about God making the heaven and the earth, that's actually a reference to Genesis, to the earliest book in the Bible, where God, he did this thing where he made the earth, he made everything, the universe, in 6 days. Kind of a big deal, right? And on the 7th day, he rests. I feel like this is where the soul of creation is given. God has built this into the very fabric of how we were designed and how all of creation was designed. We're meant to, every once in a while, stop and to just be. When we talk about holiness is something that we usually associate with place, with things, with stuff. So we talk about a sacred space. It's church, right? You want to go to church. I'm going to church. We respect things like if we had our baptismal font out, the baptismal tub. It's kind of sacred, isn't it? Because people get baptized in there. We have our Holy Bible. And some of us have these in the big letters. It says Holy Bible. It's a sacred, holy object. But the first time holiness is referenced in the Bible, it's not to a place, it's not to a thing, but it's to an event. See, I was reading a book by a rabbi who was talking about Sabbath, and he said that Sabbath is all about the people of God. They build a house, they build a palace in time, not in space, not in stuff. So when you're going to church, what does that really mean? Are you going into a building? Is that it? Or are you going to experience something? Are you going to an event in time to experience the presence of a living God who wants to speak into your life? Who cares for you? So many of us, we miss this. We miss this, but this is it's an event in our lives. There's stuff, places, they stay around, right? This building will be here until it kind of crumbles around, but it's going to be here. But there's something about events that are fleeting. They're momentary. And that's why we're called to build this in as a regular thing. You're called to set aside time, to make certain periods of time holy in the presence of God. And that does something to you. It transforms you. You were designed to stop and to rest in the presence of God. So you're commanded to do this. It benefits everyone. It's a justice issue. It's how you were designed. And fourth, you're supposed to take the Sabbath because you're not God. Some of us, we get this Messiah complex. We have so much responsibility. We have so many burdens that just weigh on our lives. We feel responsible for so much. But you're not called to be the Messiah. You're not called to save everyone. For some of us, we have messy families, right? You're not called to save your family, to be the Messiah. That's Jesus. Jesus is the Messiah. But for so much, we have the burden, the weight of responsibility that weighs on us, and we keep trying harder. But we're called to set that aside. So that's the fourth thing. The fifth thing, the most important thing, I think, though, is why observe the Sabbath? It's time where you experience the presence of the living God. I think that's the most important point. Take time to be in the presence of God in a regular sort of way, whatever that looks like for you. If you can do a day, do a day. If you can do a specific time a day, do that. But to build it in as a regular thing, make time, be intentional to be in the presence of God. Because it does something. We talk about taking a day off. It's just healthy. If you want to talk about, you'll be a better worker if you take a day off. This is just common sense. If you keep going, you're just eventually going to run out. And so taking a day off, it helps to recharge the batteries. But honestly, if that's your reason for taking some vacation time, for taking this day off, that's not really the Bible's point. The Bible actually goes deeper and says that you're not just to have this as an interlude to your working week. It's actually the highlight of your week. See, the Jewish understanding, the people of God have always understood Sabbath is not just one other day, but it's the highlight of the week. It's where we get to spend time in the presence of God. And so the other days of the week for the Jewish tradition are named in reference to the Sabbath because it's the highlight. We're called to stop. So when you're talking about vacation, part of going on vacation, if you're going to do it, what's the first aspect you have to do? You have to stop. So what does stopping look like? To stop, you need to do three things. You need to prepare. So if you're going to stop, you have to actually prepare and do enough work to actually prepare to get away from. If you're at a job, you have to prepare to leave the job, right? You have to set up the email responder, make sure all the ducks are in a row. You have to prepare. If you're going to take a day off where you actually don't do work around the house, if you don't want to cook any meals, you have to prepare them ahead of time. So you have to prepare. Secondly, you have to leave. If you're going to go on vacation from your job or from school, you have to actually leave it, right? And for some of us, this is tough to get away from it all. But we're called to leave. And the third thing is, first one is prepare, second one's leave. Third one is, no, really, you have to leave. How many people have seen those people on the beach with the laptop? They just think, oh, I'm going to go to this beach. I'm going to go to maybe Florida or some island paradise, and I'm going to sit and check my email because that's a good vacation right there. We need to put the laptop away. We need to put work aside. And you can do this at home. So many of us, our lives are cluttered. Well, for one day, what if you put all that to the side? You literally cleaned off your tables and desks of all this stuff, and you put everything aside, and you took time off. You stopped. When we talk about stopping, this aspect as one of the aspects of vacation time or Sabbath time, it's really a discipline of repentance. We talk about repentance in church, right? Repentance is you're walking in one direction and you stop right? And then you turn in another direction and you walk that way. For so many of us, our lives, I mean, we talk about repentance in a moral way so many times, right? There are things that you're doing wrong, and you need to be forgiven of them. And it's true, but we just emphasize this moral understanding, and it begins to sound an awful lot like it's another list of things for you to do. You just need to try harder so that God will love you. You just need to try and be a better person. Oops, you made a mistake this week. It's because you didn't try hard enough, and you need to keep trying harder and harder. You know, we get burdened down with our jobs. We try to work harder for that next promotion. If I just work a little harder. You know, we think about our families and our homes, and we think if I could just be a little better, my house would look better. You know, some parents, I know a lot of people who are parents of adult children who are so concerned and so burdened down because stuff's not going as it should, and they're so concerned and they're so worried. And there's just this almost implication, if I just tried harder, if I was just a little better. And we think about it with our own lives. If I could just be a little better, people might like me more. And so we try harder. We keep trying. We keep trying. We keep trying, and it weighs us down. We have faith-based ways to do this. The world helps us to do this. We have so many opportunities to get weighed down. But Jesus has something different to say. Yeah, I was reading Matthew 8:11, or Matthew 11:28 rather, this morning for my devotion, just this morning. And I ran across this, and I think this is what Jesus wants to share with you today. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. It's a little obnoxious to take a day off sometimes. It's hard. It's hard to make space to take time off. I get it. It's a yoke. And yet, if you take time to stop, if you make a concentrated effort to be regularly in the presence of God and stop trying to just prove that you are good enough, if you stop that, I promise you that you'll find that God will say, his burden's light. You'll actually find freedom in that. You'll find that peace you're really looking for. If you're looking for happiness in life, you aren't going to get it from trying harder. You'll get it if you just stop. So as part of our regular practice, we do have our prayer blankets today, and I invite you, as we're closing our final songs, to pray over those in our community who are in need of prayer. You can come forward and pray for those, but also I invite you, if this is something that you want to just give up to God, if you have been burdened by just trying harder, I'd invite you, if it's helpful, to come forward and to experience the presence of a God who just wants you to say, just to stop. Stop trying so hard and accept the presence of Jesus for your life. Will you pray with me? God, we just come to you today, and we are thankful for your love, for your presence in our lives, that we don't have to prove our love to you. We don't have to try harder or keep trying to be better, that we can rest in your presence, that we can make time and we can take time to just rest in your love. And so, God, today we just come and we lift up our lives to you. We also lift up our tithes and our offerings as part of our offering, but also we lift up our lives as a life offering to you. God, we lift it all up to you. We lift everything about us to you, because we know when we lift ourselves and our presence to you, that our lives are transformed. And so, God, we come into your presence right now, and we pray that you would speak. And it's in your name that we pray. Amen. The ushers are going to come forward and collect our offering now, but it does represent a time where you also are lifting up your life to God as an offering. And so we're going to have a moment just to silently pray, and I'd encourage you just silently lift up your lives. Any burdens that you have, any stress, concerns, or worries, feel free to stop and give it up to God.